He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored.
Good morning, and let me welcome you to the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, live from the studios of Pan-African Television. Oh, what a week we have had. It's been quite an interesting week. So much so that by yesterday, balloting had been done for the various presidential candidates. And if you're in Ashanti region, you will know that Chairman Wontumi is looking for COP retired Kofi Boakye because of what happened during the demonstration, particularly the numbers they saw. His ego is so badly bruised, Kofi Boakye is a scapegoat. Well, welcome, the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. And this morning, we are talking elections. Yes, the elections. And we are talking about what started this week, the demonstration that was held by the National Democratic Congress in all regions across Ghana, asking for a forensic audit of the register. They are convinced there is enough proof to show that this register has issues. Before we go into the 2024 elections. That's why they insist on a forensic audit. And for the first time, the NPP has spoken out loudly after watching that demonstration. No, that is their response. We will also demonstrate if the EC decides that a forensic audit is needed. We will demonstrate against it, we will take it to court, we will do whatever is necessary to ensure the forensic audit never happens. Like I said, we're talking elections. So, a few things. Bernard Mona, a friend of this show, a good friend of mine, who was elected flag bearer of the People's National Convention, was not among the persons who have been cleared to be on the ballot paper, the presidential ballot paper. So, was the PPP candidate. 13 persons out of 24 were cleared. Yesterday, balloting was held. MPP number 1, NDC number 8. The rest in between. Well, we'll talk about the elections. Like I said, the matters arising, and then we'll move on to the alarm that has been raised by the PURC. The PURC says there's an agreement that the power sector holders have. ECG, you take the power, you sell, whatever monies you collect, you put through the cash waterfall system. The PRC says they are observing that the ECG is not able to go by the agreement. So they fear that the ECG may be bankrupt. So much so that they can't even pay for the power that is being given them. Should we be worried? That's our second issue that we'll discuss. And then we'll move on to the matter, we'll return to the matter of Galamsey. There's a growing call for a temporal ban on small-scale mining and all forms of mining. That if we ban the small-scale mining, which is regulated, which is lawful, we'll be able to pick out those who are doing it illegally. So by banning small-scale mining, nobody can hide there in the name of small-scale mining and be doing something else. The president of the National House of Chiefs said, no, I don't think so. We get so much from mining that we cannot just place a ban on it. He's been disagreed with by many people. We'll talk about his views. And then we'll conclude with the arrest of the young man who pulled down the walls between the eyes of Ghanaians and what is actually happening within those gates, temporal gates that have been erected around the National Cathedral site. People swam in the pool. People took videos to show what $58 million can do. Well, we'll conclude with that issue on the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji today. But in the meantime, let's wish the people of Elembele, which is the home constituency of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, all the best as they hold the Nkrumah Fest today. We would have loved to be there. Unfortunately, we are not there. Because today is actually Founders Day. Yeah, if you know, those of us here at Pan-African Television, Socialist Movement of Ghana, the view is maintained strongly that Founders Day is the Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's birthday. So today, the Socialist Movement of Ghana, Pan-African Television, and all other interest groups will be marking Founders Day today, September 21. So today, do something in memory of the great Osagifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I am Sena Nombo, and thank you very much for joining us. We are on Facebook, Pan-African Television. That's the page, the name of the page. We are on YouTube, Pan-African Television. Do spend some time and make a comment, share, like when you join us on Facebook. And of course, when you're on YouTube too, do comment. I'll read those comments. Last week I couldn't do that, and I sincerely apologize. I'm sure there were many of you who were blaming the mic in front of me. It was not the mic in front of me. I had lost my voice. That's why you couldn't hear me. Thankfully, today I'm better. And we can start the show. And of course, first let me introduce my panel. My panel in studio this morning, starting from my right. You know, there are many, throughout life, you know, when you go into a relationship with a woman, you always wait on women. But in his job, women get to wait for him. You have to wait hours. In fact, I remember recently I went to visit Dr. James Corte this week, and there were women who were waiting as long as 5 hours to see Dr. James Corte. He's an obstetrician gynecologist by training. He's a professor, so an academic, and also pharmacologist, public health person. Now he's into the field of politics. He's the NDC parliamentary candidate for Lambousier, Professor Titus Bayo. Good morning. Nice to see you this morning. That was an
interesting one. I didn't think about the twist. Thank you for having me in studios.
It's great to have you.
Yeah.
And now it's nice to see Dr. Dixon Aduma Kukisi. Are you also a gynecologist? No, you're not. You're a physician.
Do general practice.
Okay, okay. He is a physician. So today we'll be doing some surgical operations of the issues. So Dr. Dixon Aduma Kukisi is member of parliament for the people of Anya Sowutum. And of course, we'll be having studio Ambassador Sam Piale, who is former Ghana ambassador to India, and also president of NDC Pro Forum, and Dr. David Percy, who is a student of history and politics, to complete our panel today. We'll start our discussion, like I said, on the matter of elections and matters arising. And I'll start from my right with Professor Bayo. Prof, welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say that good morning to our viewers, and then to the good people of Lambousier who are watching us this morning, and then to my senior comrade, Dr. Richard Kunyere, our PC for Nandom, a neighboring constituency. He's launching his campaign this morning, so send my people to support him in their work before the launch, and I hope he has a very successful program. But I think the highlight for me will go back to our demonstration. Yeah, and I think that I followed the commentary after it, and I think that by all intent and purposes, that demonstration was a huge success, not in terms of the numbers that came out, but in terms of the message sent out. Prior to the demonstration, the narrative from the unofficial PROs of the EC, that's the opponents in the NPP who have taken up the job of speaking on behalf of the EC, has been that we have never submitted whatever our claims are, we have never submitted whatever the basis for this forensic audit is, but we submitted a comprehensive document as a petition during this demonstration. And not only the EC, but now the media, everybody gets to know exactly what we are asking for. And I want to thank all our comrades who came out, the organizers, every Ghanaian that stood out. It wasn't an NDC demonstration, it was a Ghanaian demonstration, just to let the EC, duty bearers, and everybody know that the power and sovereignty belong to the people. We only hold it in trust of the people. And so you can be as independent as you wish to be, or as the law permits you, but you cannot be independent from the people that employ you. And so when people complain, you need to listen. And I believe that based on what has happened, the commentary from civil society organizations, the charade of I don't know whether a banter or a counter press statement from the NPP. In the milieu of all this, I'm confident that the EC would listen to the voice of the masses and do the needful. Because what was our basis for making this request? That we have identified unauthorized voter transfers, which the EC admits. And if you have 243,540 unauthorized voter transfers, is that not basis enough for an audit? Hasn't somebody won a presidential election in this country with less than 100,000 votes? So why will this not be significant? We have identified a situation where we have unidentifiable path for the voter transfer. Because the trend is that if you transfer your vote somewhere else, where you transferred from, your name should be on the absent list today. And then we know your name then appears where you have gone in to be now transferred to. That has not happened. So you can't trace where the person is transferred from. That is a cause for worry. Deletions from the voter register. Nearly 4,000 people got their names deleted without their permission. You know, misplaced voter transfers, corrupt data files, delayed transparency. These are genuine concerns that we have raised. And so for all those who did not hear us out first and were eager to say, hey, bring your whatever you have, else why are you asking for a forensic audit? We have established the basis for that audit. And I'm hoping that the EC would listen. I do not see what the NPP is afraid of and does not want this audit to take place. Really, what is the point? An audit is that, yeah, you say your books are clean. The auditor comes to check, and they are clean. And that independent body can work in collaboration with the EC and all other stakeholders in this matter, including the NPP and the NDC. So we all go in and say, yes, you say you now have a clean register. On the basis of what you have done, it is actually clean. That is what the people of Ghana wants, to inspire confidence in the electoral process. So I think that that demonstration was a huge success. The message is clear, and I'm hoping that we will get a favorable response very soon. The international community reported very well. I saw Bloomberg report, I saw BBC report, and I think that all eyes are on the EC. Don't set precedents that are not worthy of emulation. Don't precede this election with so much doubt, you know. So do the audit, let's have a fair system, and then we'll all be happy with the outcome of the results. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Doc?
Yes. Let me also use this opportunity to say a good morning to the entire nation, and specifically my constituency, Anya Soto. And let me add that today being Kwame Nkrumah's day, I'm very humbled to say that without a doubt, his footprints are still there worldwide, and Nkrumah is certainly a man of the century and has contributed to Africa's politics and is adored by many outside the shores of this country. And he's an example of a prophet who's never accepted by his own. And I'm only going to use this opportunity to plead with Ghanaians that many a times we critique and we kill our own heroes too much. I believe that we need to celebrate people who have achieved a lot, because being African alone, I mean, we go through a lot of struggles. And when our people do well, we ought to learn to celebrate them. The Martin Luther Kings, the, shall I say, the likes of Thomas Sankara, shall I say, the likes of Marcus Garvey, all these people who have contributed to our Africanness need to be very well celebrated. And I think I admire the president for also looking to empower Du Bois Center, because worldwide, Dr. Du Bois is also seen as a huge figure in the history of African Americans, and for that matter, Kwame Nkrumah. So he should be written about, studied, and unfortunately there aren't enough books on Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. When you go to many bookstores, Washington is celebrated heavily in America. The likes of Alex Hamilton celebrated, and history is always a guide to the future. And I think for that reason, who can shape the destiny of this nation by what they let us read should do more work. And on concluding on Kwame Nkrumah, I think that adage that black men don't read or black people don't read has to change, so that we can understand our past for a better guide of the future. Now, with that said, let me thank the MPP for choosing one on the ballot. It makes it so easy for all of us to be able to just go straight to number one to vote. It's remarkable that God has spoken for Dr. Bawumia, in the sense that he's given him victory in advance by giving him the number one. And I pray that in all domains he remains the first and nothing but the first. Now, in relation to the Electoral Commission, I am not here as a member of Parliament to necessarily do PRO work for the Electoral Commission. Neither am I here employed to talk on behalf of the EC. But I'm here to talk as a statesman. And what statesmen do is to put trust in the electoral process. It's important that even if you are a footballer, that you encourage fans to respect the rules of the game. And you explain to your fans when you get a red card that truly it is in the books, that when you foul multiple times, and then there are certain fouls that just one gives you a red card. And I think that it is also important that all players play by the rules of engagement. Now, there are many ways to kill a cat. That's what I know. That means that if you intend to do something, there are many approaches to doing it. And I think that all approaches have to be right, needful, and worth your time. There's something troubling for me with the NDC's posture over the years with regards to the Electoral Commission. When the NDC was in power, the likes of the current chairman of the NDC was a proponent, a very powerful student of the act that created Electoral Commission. I think he knew the act even more than Afarijan when he was in power. As we speak now, it seems that either opposition has blinded him or being in opposition has confused him. Last 4 years ago, when I was contesting, I remember that there was a forum agreed upon by both parties in my constituency to sit on issues after the exhibition, where names that were supposed to be expunged were not expunged, or where names that were supposed to appear did not appear, so that both parties would agree and resolve the issue with the authority given us by the EC to present all things that we needed correction. Ashedin Ketia explained to all of us in this country at some point that, listen, the exhibition is part of the process of doing corrections. And the EC, let me be very categorically clear here, that any time that the Electoral Commission exhibits names for you and me to go and check if your name is at a particular polling station where you'll be voting, if there are any mistakes, you have a right to do, a statement and to get it corrected at your local Electoral Commission's office. And when you go for that review, and they tell you that you're supposed to be at polling station B, but there's an error, and you're at polling station C, but let's maintain that so that you can maybe run this election without issue, because sometimes some changes rather might even offset the entire system. These are dialogues that happen locally at your local Electoral Commission's office. Now, beyond that, when there are things that of grave, let me say, clerical errors, there's still another process or procedure to follow per Electoral Commission's, programming. And I remember that it is agreed upon that towards the end of the exercise, that both parties will be handed over, the corrections or amendments based on the work that happens in each separate constituency. Now, I'm wondering, why jump the gun? And though there may be errors, why not wait for the agreed upon 2-week window for people to present in entirety all their issues related to the album or issues related to the Electoral Commission's document? And then, based on what I understand, Madame Jean Mensah proffered that the NDC is at liberty to drop off in entirety their issues in relation to the Electoral Commission's exhibition, and that when they have done that, they should give them 7 days to respond. So I thought that that was a very simple, straightforward opportunity, that we have noticed that 100 names in Anyanso Toba are not there. And Electoral Commission, these are the 100 names who are supposed to be there. Please sort it out. 7 days later, Electoral Commission comes and says that, oh, those 100 names who were erroneously removed or transferred to Ablekuma North has been brought back, and it was a matter of copy and paste or whatever. It's been resolved. And then you might have certainly other outstandings. And in fact, the beauty of dialogue, and let me be very clear here, is the fact that sometimes we who are even presenting the case might be in error, in the sense that I remember hearing one example from Kevo, that in Akosombo there's been an extra creation of a polling station, and here's a case that we all know per the arrangements that when you have 750 voters at a station, any extra name or number has to be moved to another center. And so my point here is that out of the maybe 20 issues that the NDC may have with the Electoral Commission's document, some of them might be things that are a wrong perception to begin with by the NDC, and when they should sit down and go through the Electoral Commission's Act or the processes laid down for the Electoral Commission's workings, the NDC will come to a realization that, you know what, we thought this, but it's actually this way. We thought that this was the process of correcting this, but it's actually this way. And peace will prevail. And I believe that throwing or putting doubt on the EC isn't the best thing. And it would not inure to the benefit of this country. All of us are hoping that the EC will make this election very free and fair. We are hoping that the electoral process will be very credible, and without a doubt, the integrity of the whole process will be top notch. Granted, like many data management systems, there's always going to be some level of error because of the human elements in it. And I believe that if you are baking 100 loaves of bread, certainly 2 might be off, or 4 might be off. Or if your quality assurance system is so bad, you might have 50-50, which is so bad. But there should be an agreed upon threshold that in the event that we're doing this thing, some apples will be bad apples. And I cite the famous Pusiga story. You'd have one bad apple who will mess it up for all of us. And shall we then say that all of the apples are bad and we should throw them out? No, it's not acceptable in a very data management system. So I'm of the opinion that, one, the lay down processes for, I prefer not to use the word audit, but let me use checks and balances of the electoral process per each constituency is there. It's known to every well-meaning politician. And we have to exhaust that. When we've exhausted that process, then we can escalate to the next level if that process, which was exhausted, has not been addressed. In a decade ago, when the NPP was pushing for many reforms, I mean, listen, I can cite ballot box being open for people to see, transparent ballot box. That was like a huge fight. Bringing up this bio way of doing thumb printing,
the
huge fight.
register. Yeah.
Registration, huge fight. I mean, there's been many monumental changes in the Electoral Commission, and I must admit that, the MPP in our struggle to win power have done massive reforms, and I was very happy to see Afarijan saying that though they were printing different colors of pink sheets, honorable former chairman of our party, Obichebi Lamte, was instrumental in making Ghanaians come to appreciate pink sheet, and has made pink sheet come to stay, which is the leaflet and then the duplicate document, and the fact that our legal case in 2012 really impacted Electoral Commission's work and some changes in the Electoral Commission. So MPP has never been not for reforms that are very instrumental in our electioneering. I will never shy away from that responsibility. But I think that the laid down procedures have to be exhausted before we escalate to the next level. And I would really encourage the NDC to exercise restraint, appropriate restraint, and to allow for these things to happen. And then, just to not refer them to 2020 elections, where they went to court rather demanding from the court the appropriate figures instead of presenting what their figures were. And I'm hoping that in this particular instance, the NDC will lay out in entirety every issue they have, and then when Ghanaians have seen in entirety every issue they have, and then the Electoral Commission does not resolve them, then they have a case. And listen, all of us will be with them to, as it is, duke it out with the EC to make sure that those changes matter. And ultimately, every vote that is cast should be counted, and every vote that has to be cast has to be cast, and that is the rules of the game, and we are all for that. I think that's the common ground. So my message to Honorable NDC Party and my chairman of the party, Sweden Kitia, is that listen, peace has to prevail, even if the NDC wishes to rule this country. A peaceful country is easier to govern than a non-peaceful party. And we shouldn't be warmongers, because in Bema Obiefie, we have the men, they have the men, and we shouldn't be warmongers at all. We believe that it's a matter of ideas, it's a matter of principle, and let the lay down processes for the checks and balances within the Electoral Commission be done. And then after that, if that is not done, then you have a case. You have a case. So these are my humble submissions, and it is never possible that you have 100% tight data without error. It's impossible. It's impossible. Not even under any. Then there will be no need for statistics in our world. It's impossible. There's always a margin of error, human element. So these are my humble submissions. They should be patient and allow for processes to flow.
Well, because you didn't spend so much time on that topic. So
just brief a few minutes. I appreciate the views espoused by my colleague, but except to make a few references back to him. First of all, he did mention something which I agree, that except where you have very grave circumstances, and he doesn't think that yardstick has been met. I just want to humbly submit to him and to anybody who is listening to us that though that bar has been exceeded. Why am I saying so? You have an electoral commission where you have known party functionaries, sympathizers on the commission. When they were making a call for forensic audit, that was not the composition of the commission then. At the time in 2015, when the current EC chair called for a forensic audit of the electoral roll then, we never had missing biometric verification devices, right? We never had people votes being transferred without their permission. They should give us the evidence to say that people's votes were transferred without their will, without their permission. And we say that we have not reached a threshold to call for audit. I beg to differ. I mean, when things happen, let's not present the issues as though they are happening in vacuum. Please, we are all in this together. We want the peace, we want a fair, transparent election. But that cannot happen when you don't guarantee certain minimum levels, all right? And what are the fundamental thing for any credible election is the electoral register. Now, this voters register, we have demonstrated to the number of people that have had their names transferred without their permission. And you say that is not yet a standard to call for audit? What then should we get to before we call for an audit? And I am surprised, if we are talking about principles here, then what was right in 2015 is definitely right now. And I'm even telling you that the circumstances now even make it more right than compared to 2015 when this audit was called for and was granted. The current EC chair, the revered Asantehene, made a statement as well to the Bar Association conference then, asking that this audit was necessary. What has changed? And at the time, mind you, we didn't have this level of errors occurring. You call these clerical errors? When people are transferred without their will, How could that be a clerical error? That somebody just transposes their name somewhere else? Then let us see the full extent of the issue. What we have picked is what we are talking about. But an audit will let us know if it is worse, if it is less, or if it is the same. What is wrong with this? Now you say we should allow for the period to occur. See, if you don't take care, I'm not a legal brain, but the EC may be inundated with a lot of legal battles right now. You are disqualifying people from this election, this presidential election, based on a provisional register. I don't know the errors the people have committed. But for instance, if I were disqualified or someone else was disqualified because someone who signed for them, the name is maybe it's in a location where the person is not supposed to have been. And this is a provisional register, not a permanent register that we are going to use. And the final correction comes and the name is at the correct place, and you have already disqualified me because I was located at the wrong place due to a clerical error like what he's describing. What do you make of what have you done to me? So should we have even gone ahead to this level just with a provisional register? Why don't we have a clear register yet? People have filed nomination and you can be disqualified or otherwise based on a provisional register. And errors in that provisional register, you say we shouldn't complain? Really? And now we've done balloting. Some people are out. They are out. I'm waiting to get a full explanation. But potentially, you could have been disqualified because someone who signed for you is either not in the voter register. Right? If they check on their system, parliamentary candidates are endorsed by 18 people. If the 18 people that endorse you, somebody's name is not on the voter register, you can be disqualified. If that person happened to be among these 4,000 people whose names have been deleted, is it fair to disqualify the candidates? So there are fundamental issues to be dealt with. And I do not see what you mean by we should wait. Wait till when? 70-something days to election. You ask us to submit a hard disk drive for the data. We sent it more than a week. We have it till date. We have not received this final register. So on what basis should we wait? Till when? Till when? Already, we've done a very critical job without it. So I think that the conditions are right for this audit, and it's a call in the right direction. And for him who wants peace, who wants us to have a very fair election, which all of us are praying for, nobody wants any disturbance, we should all support this call. You have nothing to hide. Go ahead and do the audit. You've asked that we should submit it. It has been submitted to you in a petition. Look at it and do that. But let me quickly make a statement on Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I mean, he's an icon to all of us, the greatest African of the century. And it's all young politicians or like us all look up to him and his achievements. And on a day like this, while we celebrate him, I would want to condemn all attempts to rewrite our history to take him out of center of importance. And we have seen that. And so it is a right day to condemn statements made by people like the running mate of the MPP who says our Nkrumah. We are happy to have him as our Nkrumah. This is the greatest African of the millennium, and we are happy to have him. And I think that, yes, it's very confusing now. Even if you go to talk to your children, the history we learnt in the past 4 or 5 years is being rewritten. What they are teaching our children now is not what we were taught. What kind of a country are we that every time we have a change in a political governance or leadership of this country, we have to rewrite our history? So what history are we going to have? What man is Nkrumah that the whole world has realized his value, and yet at home we try to denigrate him? I think that we celebrate his achievements. We celebrate all that he's done for us. We pray that the good Lord finds a place for him to rest. And we pray that we, the living, will be guided by what he has done. And we should put the history right, that it guides generations. Thank you. And then the balloting. I didn't make a comment on that because I thought we'll discuss that separately.
We are putting all of it.
We are putting all of it together.
I'm allowing this only because you are new to the show.
Yeah,
so
okay. Yeah.
So that's why I'm allowing it.
All right.
Typically,
You should have
your turn, I don't come back to you.
Thank you. So just a comment on the balloting. I would say that we thank God for our position that God has given to us. I am convinced that all things work together for good for those who are loved by God, who are chosen by God. And I am convinced that the figure 8 we have picked is going to silence some people, and I'm excited about it. And that we are going to hit the ground, market it very, very well. And it's not the location, it is the person. And for me, all I tell our party faithfuls and every Ghanaian who is desirous of that change that is coming, who wants to show their resentment with the kind of bad leadership we have had over the last 8 years, just go, when you look at that ballot paper, look for the umbrella. Wherever the umbrella is located, that is what you are looking for. Endorse the umbrella for your parliamentary candidate, endorse the umbrella for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and you would have made a statement to every politician now and politician in the future that if you misgovern a nation, you will be punished at the ballot box. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me do a few comments. This is okay. Yes, okay. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. And thank you very much for staying tuned to the Matter of All talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. I was just going through some of the comments you're sending to us via our 3 platforms. So this is Mystic in Insam. Mystic from Gomwa West says, what is the NEC party doing about the video going around concerning the swapping of ballot papers yesterday during the balloting event? Can we just continue to be talking without acting when there's clear evidence? That's Mystic who sent that. Thank you, Mystic, for sending that comment. There's okay, I think I've done Tafa already. There's this one that talks about let me see, says the Speaker of Parliament can put a question in the flow that if both political parties should bring their IT and ask European Union or any international country to provide them with IT, or all political parties and independent candidates should provide their IT, and as those independent IT who already agreed to do it free must be invited and ask members of parliament to choose or vote. Okay, message not so clear, but I think I get what you're saying. There's Adolf from Abra Dunkwa says, good morning. This proves that the hand is faster than the eye. It's very shameful. What a balloting ball practice. So Adolf has sent me a video. Adolf, thank you very much for sending that video. Very interesting. This is attracting a lot of attention on my page this morning, actually. Yeah, this one from Kuchu Manshia Zongo, who says the forensic audit is the best for all the party and the world to be clear-minded, not about NDC MPP matter. Thank you. I'm well today. Says, please let honorable friend know 8 for GF is a blessing because he has the big chance to break it. So MPP should break the one. He sent that. Thank you very much. There's this one. This one says, Mr. Kisi should know that there is no peace without justice. That's all he sends. He didn't add your name, please. When you're sending a message, please include your name. This is, I think, this Kucho again. Says, my question goes to the honorable man. Is the forensic audit a bad thing? He shouldn't forget all bad things they try doing. God will expose all of them. That's from one of our listeners, Kucho, again, I think. There's this one with Fifi Ankra says, so you see why, okay. Very interesting things is said. It says, the mindset of Dr. Numanko Kisi, with all due respect, does not sync with average Ghanaian. He lives in a very different world from reality, just like their party ideology. They always believe that winning a general election through whatever means is the greatest achievement, after which the people don't matter till the next elections. That's from Fifi Ankra. There's also this one, okay, he gives me a road through history. Dennis Akwete says, it is indeed strange, but not surprising, that Madame Jim Mensah, who in the past pushed for an independent audit of the voters register, irrespective of the independence of the EC cited by her, will be in the driving seat today and will not be the first person to yield to the demand for independent forensic audit of the voters register in the face of an unprecedented errors detected in the voters register by the NDC. Strangely, and also not surprising, the MPP is threatening and demonstration to the EC yield to auditing of the voters register, as though the MPP has anything to lose on that account. Perhaps they have something to lose. This is the kind of duplicity that's rocking Ghana's development and can at a point jeopardize our democratic journey and must be washed. That's coming from Dennis Yao Akwete. Then this is also, I'm still reading from our WhatsApp platform. This one shares with me a story published by the Daily Guide 28 October 2015, and the headline is "Engage Independent Body to Audit Register Jim Mensah." And there's a communique at the end of the Institute of Economic Affairs. Okay, let me get that again. Please stop calling the number, it doesn't help. So there's a communique at the end of the Institute of Economic Affairs organized debate on whether or not to replace the voters register has asked the Electoral Commission to show proactiveness and leadership by engaging the services of a competent, credible and external organization to audit the electoral roll. The communique, which was signed by IEA Executive Director Jim Mensah, pointed out that though Article 46 of the National Constitution protects the EC from direction or control, it is nevertheless accountable to the citizens because it is a public organization which draws its funds from the consolidated fund, end quote. It was also agreed, according to the communique, that, quote, there are irregularities with the current voters register. All stakeholders must work towards a consensus position on addressing these irregularities. The two main schools of thought on how to resolve the problem of illegal entries in the register are not mutually exclusive, end quote. Purging the register will ultimately result in a new register, while compiling a new register will rely on some existing data from the old register. The communique explained and added that, quote, what is critical is that the final output of this register must be a voters register with an acceptable margin of error, end quote. Well, if you just join us, the matter of all talk shows, we are talking about elections and matters arising. Dr. Pesky has joined us. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Senna. I see that you have a topic, National Protest for Forensic Audit of Voters Register, and MPP's threat.
Yes.
What threat?
The threat is that they will go to court if there's an audit of the register, and also demonstrate. Yes, they will resist
MPP
it. Yes,
will go to court.
yeah.
Crazy. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that I have to acknowledge today the anniversary of Osajifo and recognize the criminal overthrow that has set us back centuries. When people speak about Nkrumah, they speak about the many institutions that he set up, the physical infrastructure that he built, but the most important aspect of Nkrumah was one, his belief, his faith in the capacity of ordinary people. And that he understood that if we had self-belief, there was nothing we could not do as a people. Anything others have done, we can do and can surpass. Now, since it's over through, everything has been done to send us back to the slave house of colonialism, to destroy, to demolish our self-belief, our self-confidence. So today it is common that if we have a problem that we have to discuss, you find in our midst foreigners who have no place because their interests are different from ours. But some of them have a permanent interest. But most of them, what we now call development partners, have a permanent interest in our backwardness, in demonstrating the falsehood of what Nkrumah stated, that the African is capable of managing his affairs. A lot of money, time, effort is devoted to proving that right. And until we get a grasp of that, we are not going anywhere fast. So, Akosombo, Tamahabo, the hundreds of factories he built, all of those are important. But the most important is that we believe in ourselves, we own and set our agenda. Now, on the small matter of the MPP's attempt to steal the 2024 elections, it's always important to be guided by history. In opposition, under whatever pretext, real or imaginary, when the MPP had issues about the operations of the Electoral Commission and about the voters' register in particular, because the voters' register is at the heart of any proper election. The matter will be gone into initially against the opposition of the party in power, the NEC, but then a consensus will be reached, and then we'll move on. So you can do a narration of our journey from opaque ballot boxes to photo IDs that moved to color and then moved back to black and white under MPP. And I raise this point in order to point to another historical fact. That whenever the MPP has been in power, it has sought to close the democratic space. So I'm sure you remember the famous pronouncement of J.H. Mensah, Flush with Victory. I believe it was in, was it 2001? Yes, maybe. But when he said that by the time they had finished, the NDC will cease to exist, or worse to that effect. And that is tied to this other point I made about Nkrumah, his belief in the people, and the criminal stupid enterprise that has been going on for the past 8 years, sorry, to erase him from our history and rewrite and introduce other criminals as our heroes in his place. Now, the fundamental difference between Nkrumah and those who invited him was his belief in the people. Now, every attempt to rewrite history is not only a criminal enterprise, but also part of another crime. So people are trying to prepare space and the context for more crimes against the people, because the NPP never believed that ordinary people like the Atia the watchman or Ali the cow, what is it? The headsman has a right when Adishie are deciding on matters of what this should be done. They've never believed it. That was the principal point of departure between Nkrumah and the people who invited him. They had a very small, narrow project for the educated elite, the so-called Bintu. And what were they fighting for? They were fighting to be placed on the same level with the white man in the Gold Coast. There was no place in their project for the Mama Buloy or the Ntamfrafo. There was no place for the vast majority of their kinsmen, miners, farmers, fishers. No, that wasn't a project they were building. So when Nkrumah came in and brought in the people, he had destroyed their project, but they had lost control of it, which is the reason why our president and his ilk cannot forgive Nkrumah. And Abuja, they passed a law that made it illegal to hold an effigy of Nkrumah, to publicly celebrate him or refer to him. But that law, I think, went out with Kutu Achampong. Now they cannot do so legally. So they have to use other means. But that is also part of just building the background to what I'm about to say. So it's the hatred and contempt for the ordinary people, which is what drives a lot of what the NPP does. They don't believe that it is a business of ordinary people to determine our destiny. Simple. Okay? And under Kufuor, they had this task of trying to take over the functions of the Electoral Commission. You know, the attempt to take over procurement, which was resisted and defeated. Then they floated on some speculation, allegation, was it? That the Electoral Commission chair had engaged himself in some foreign exchange transaction that was illegal. They floated it and they kept nursing it, but they didn't proceed with it. But that went hand in hand with preparations for the theft of the 2004 elections. I remember very clearly statements by Dan Boche about how they were going to win an overwhelming second term. Even then, there were pointers to the possibility that President Kufuor might only last one term. But such was, I mean, even coming up to the second anniversary of his coming into power, it was key that his regime went beyond 2 years. Buzi had been taken out after 2 years. It was key. So it came up to the 4 years. It was important that they get a second term. And preparations went into it. Now, I've heard people quote various statements by either Afarijan or president or chairs from the past. The most famous and this thing is that what? Elections are won at the that is nonsense. Elections can be won or stolen at every point. Before the polling, right up through the transmission, to the simple tallying. Now, I heard people say that, for instance, the NDC went to the Supreme Court without their results. What the NDC went to court to do was simply to get the Honorable Chairperson of the Electoral Commission to demonstrate how she came by the varying results. Simpliciter. But they didn't reckon with the accomplices on the court. So the theft was consummated. But in 2020, the key point to note about all of these matters is that starting from the appointment of Jean Mensah as EC chairperson, the Electoral Commission was converted into an extension of the MPP and its agency. I see that many of the public commentators, including my friends in the NDC, are laboring under a misimpression that they are dealing with an quote-unquote independent constitutional body, when what they are dealing with is the NPP. That's the only way you can make logic sense out of the foolish statement that they are supposed to have made, that what they will go on a demonstration. They are threatening a demonstration. Yes, of course. That is the only way you can square this. That the NPP is the Electoral Commission. Party headquarters, Jubilee House, the president, and a few key people in the shadows. I won't mention their names for now. Now, it started from the MPP's recognition that when they followed that young wise man and opted for the biometric register, they are giving away a major historic advantage that had been fought for and cultivated over many years, going back to the 50s. Go back to the 50s, following the defeat by the CPP in 51, in 54, in 56. In 1960, they developed a system of multiple registration. So you register where you are, you go back home, and you go and register. You register as many people, like you register in La, you register in Osu, then you go back to Atonsu and you go and register. So it's your patriotic duty, because this is war. So With that out of the way, it then allowed for polling the operations. And you could squeak through that. Okay. So, but this young man comes from England, does not know this history of his party, and floats up the issue of a biometric register, a digital thing that would be difficult. So that would be difficult to have. What is it? Because each person has a unique identifier, the biometric. You cannot have multiple registrations. It was adopted with some difficulty, with some resistance, but it was adopted. Because those who are against you come to recognize that actually it may work in our favor. So, saying that under Kufuor, this thing did not exist. They just went with their traditional systems of multiple registration of minors, and the driving away of agents of the opposition. Those things worked perfectly. But then in the age of the digital biometric register, new methods must be found. And that has been the work of the EC under Jean Mensa. By the time she came to become chairperson, we had established for ourselves through the IPAC, which is illegal going by the logic of, the EC not being subject to the direction of, what's this phrase that they quote often? Yeah, that they talk about the independence of the EC under the Constitution, not being subject to the direction of this thing. IPAC is illegal. There's no place for it in the Constitution. It was an innovation by Dr. Farajan, coming from the disputes of 1992 and 1996. And by the way, there is no election in our country, pre-independence, post-independence, that the MPP and its descendants have lost, that they've accepted. No one. Even when the British held the 51 elections, the British preferred them to Nkrumah. They accused the British of tampering with the results for Nkrumah. That's another story for another day. But back to our current yams. So this new condition, where through following the advice of this wise young man, they had thrown away a major advantage, had to be restored. How do you do it in the digital era? So the key instrument is any way you can disenfranchise people in the strongholds of the opposition. Disenfranchisement. Okay. So, for instance, when it's time to do the registration, find an excuse to send the military to the Volta region to scare the hell out of the people so that they don't show up. It's a simple tactic. I think that they've revived this Western Togo thing, right? Yes. It's always very handy. There was also this, in the last few weeks, this thing about a looming famine, a ban on the export of this thing. Yes. Because in almost all those cases, those border areas tend to be strongholds of the opposition. Beyond raising questions about their citizenship. Remember the famous case of the, what is it, Dr. Baumia MD. How many Togolese now registered? 80,000. It's instructed that currently recognizes that the citizens of the Volta region are Ghanaians. But it was just being used. But that's another story again. But back to our story. So, the current order of business, since the appointment of Jean Mensah, was first of all to demolish and throw out of the window IPAC as a body for open consultation and consensus in election management decision making, through which you build trust. And that came to be envied by others and even copied. So the first thing he did, the very first meeting, was to throw out IPAC. Then the EC was now MPP headquarters, and they decide things for electoral advantage, and then they send them out to come and tell us, and sometimes offer stupid rationalizations, because they say things that are completely stupid, but they have to say it. Like this recent director saying that what? The 2016 register was full of you can't believe it. But why? He's just being a useful idiot. Something has to be said. So that's the most important point that we must move on. That we are dealing with the NPP, period. Now, 2020, the focus was on the theft of the presidential election, because all the polls told them that it was going to be close. And it was close. Actually, the NDC won the parliamentary seats. The NDC won the parliamentary seats. But it looks like their announcement of their victory was premature. Like they say, don't count all your eggs before they're hatched, or something to that effect. So the preparations have gone on for the theft of the presidential poll through the insertion of the regional coalition. So the theme is to build opacity and to create loopholes. Under Alhaji and Alhaji, the control of the register, the database, sat on servers of STL. They took it over under the banner of recovering our sovereignty. And now, whereas under the previous administration, not even the chairperson could enter the database without the permission, in quotes, of STL. Today, it is possible for a district level officer to go into the database. And coming up to the last registration, I think that they are determined that as for the presidency, it was lost, given the shabby, atrocious performance of Nonado. You knew the presidency was lost. But they could work on the parliamentary. So what did they do? in all the, what you might call the swing seats, where you could swing the boat. Sometimes maybe the margin of the victory was a few hundred or dozens. Okay, in the case of one famous concern, I think it was even 3. Okay, so in those places, they gave an assignment to their branch executives, their agents, and they live in the communities. They know, quote unquote, NDC people, right? So you need a few of those, depending on the numbers, who can be moved out of place. So let's say the famous case of Jirapa. So whatever rules you get to them, you don't even have to get to them. You can just sit in if you know them. You can simply move their registration from constituency A to constituency B. It could be a neighboring constituency. It could be a constituency 100 miles away. It doesn't matter. So through that simple manipulation, they intend to win the parliamentary seats. So that in the event that you have, say, an opposition, victory at the presidential level, they will control parliament. And this our town will be truly, truly interesting. So this is what has been done. Now, the EC dare not, the EC, fronting for the MPP, dare not allow a forensic audit, because it will open up a can of worms and even lead people to how the 2020 elections were stolen, which will raise questions about the legitimacy of our president. So I've been watching them in their inconsistency. They say this and that and that and that other. They say, well, we are not against it. I want them to come by the lay down. I think that was one of the statements I thought I heard their General Secretary make. I don't know which one came before that one.
I think even in this one, he was still saying that the NDC needs to put the evidence forward, give the evidence to the EC.
Yes, okay. So that was one. He said they should go by a certain laid down
procedure.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's the same person who is also leading the charge that they'll go on a demonstration.
Yes.
Okay. But you see, I'm saying that it's a very difficult position to be in. Because now you can't hide the fact that the EC is the NPP, period. Now, they are willing to move our country to the brink of civil war, if need be. And the effort that is required may bring us close to that. I hope it doesn't go over. But we are dealing with people who are desperate and criminal enough to wish to bring down the whole house. It's called the Samson effect. To bring down the whole house, if necessary. If it means they going down. That's what we are dealing with. Now, my friends in the NDC have to be smart. First of all, their messaging has been awful. This thing about forensic, I mean, the way it came out at first lent itself to all kinds of mischievous misinterpretations. What was it? It took me a while to even find out that, they're talking about all parties in the contest bringing up IT experts and working with the EC. How can anybody oppose such an eminently sensible idea? They're not even talking about the fact that the opponent in the MPP got their register way ahead of them. They got their register the previous day, 12 hours to the start of the exhibition. And the head of elections, or is it research, the NPP made a very telling statement. Now, after them, they had their register, and what they are doing is concentrating on the people in the register and going after them. Yes. Because they've done a very good job of marking known sympathizers of the party, NDC. And their trump card was that we know that historically very few people go to check the register. I don't know how many of us around the table went to check. I'm sure, Prof, you went to check. Okay. And I'm sure, Doctor.
I also.
Good.
They are both interested parties. Good. I have not.
You didn't go to check.
I was not able to.
I went to check. On that day, I think I was the third person in that whole polling area. I was the third person the whole day, and I went just before they closed. Because they're counting on the fact that many people will not go and check in the false belief that, oh, their names will be there because they've registered. So if nothing is done on polling day, what will happen is that many people will go to their polling station or and join a queue. Discover when they get to the listing that their names is not there, and they'll be pointed to maybe polling area B to go and check, and C and D. They'll do all the checking, they'll never find their name. Because if you are in Agbogboshi, maybe you have been sent to Latte. So it's a very simple, neat this thing. It doesn't require the lifting of ballot boxes. It doesn't require any of that. And the danger is that if you correct it without fixing the system, it can be reinserted. That's where we are. It's a different age. We call it the biometric register, but it's a different animal from what was left. Right now, officials at the EC at various levels can go inside and make changes. And then, in part of what they've also been doing with the bar, they are appointing party activists at all levels. District electoral officer, regional electoral officer, everything. The same thing that they are doing in the security services. So, welcome to a new age. But like I said, my friends have to play smarter. The only court they can address is the court of public opinion. And they mustn't allow the usual suspects, the professional busybodies, peace industry, to get in their way. You are either part of the solution or you are with the problem. So whether eminent persons or whatever, council of whatever, Nana whatever, you're either here or you're there. It's a very, very simple matter. The central matter is that the MPP is the Electoral Commission. And how they dismount from that tiger is the matter now. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. A few comments I'm getting from, so this Facebook, this Nasir Mohammed, I'm not surprised that the MPP rep has spoken that way. The fact is that to be an MPP communicator, it appears you have to renounce your principles. How can anyone be resisting an audit under the circumstances? It is in the EC's own interest to allow an audit because they have serious integrity deficit because of the people appointed, being known MPP people. Hundreds of thousands of names deleted, transferred, or dead. Where are your principles? That is directed to Dr. Kisi. Well, I guess he will respond to that.
I think you also made reference, and I need to correct it.
Okay.
I didn't say that I was not for checks.
Okay.
What I said was that at every constituency, there's a body that sits down after exhibition to challenge names that are either erroneously added or deleted.
The adjudication body. I think there's an adjudication body.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is that has that been abandoned? Are we saying that it's not necessary? And why don't we allow that to happen per the 276 constituencies? And let me be clear that there are now 276 constituencies for this election. And when that has happened and issues have not been addressed by the Electoral Commission, I think that is when we have a case. Okay. And that should be very clear to all of us here, that I'm not saying that it is not necessary, but what I know is that that body is part of the framework.
Should be the first stop. Okay.
And
first, Doc first. Okay.
You see, the way this District Review Commission works is premised on the people going to review, see the problem themselves during this exhibition, and then making a protest. So, for instance, my name has been omitted, or I have been disqualified from registering. Then I go to prove that my name is on the objection. I go to prove that it should not be there because I'm a valid Ghanaian. But you have a situation where people are not even aware, like Doc has said, that you have been transferred out. Our party's IT system pick up close to how many hundreds of thousands of people. So,
publish the names.
So how are those people? I mean, let's be realistic.
After I giving good advice, I told them publish the names.
So
names and faces to the figures.
When we did the initial submission and we're asking that they should allow the press into that meeting, which was declined, we actually did PowerPoint presentation of these issues with names of people that have been duplicated, that have been transferred. Could we have sat down and done a full publication of 2,000 names within that period? So I'm just trying to let you know that depending on the magnitude of what you are dealing with, this District Review Commission they are talking about cannot handle it. The number of people who went to review, who went to the exhibition center from the statistics that were released from the EC, is less than 30%.
Okay.
Less than 30% of people went. So if you have a central system that is being controlled, that is being manipulated, and you pick it up, and you don't call for something like this, and you are asking the individuals, this exhibition is even over.
Okay.
Point of addition or correction.
Yeah, briefly, because we'll move on to the other topic.
So my thinking is that we can't go to the EC and make a demand that they should tell us all their mistakes. Even from a corporate standpoint, I think, and even administrative standpoint, I must admit that over the years, when the EC has on their own scrubbed their data and seen mistakes, they don't come and publish it. And unless there's a demand now that we and that could be another thing that we require, that the EC after exhibition should show Ghanaians all the mistakes that they picked up. I mean, that's one thing. But I think that the NDC has able 276 people who can go to this commission and make a case for those who are not there. I mean, who are not even aware.
Okay.
So have you exhausted that? And has the EC not responded? And I remember this is not me talking for the EC, but I'm aware that the Electoral Commission said that Honorable NDC, submit the 2,000 plus names. Give us a week, we'll respond. Has that been exhausted? No.
Okay. Doc, so that we bring this to a close.
I think that my colleague, Dr.
Kisi.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we're meeting in the studio, but I watch him often. He comes across as a very reasonable person.
Thank you.
But for that, your party was very angry with you.
Well.
So watch your back. But the animal you're dealing with, the District Education Committee, deals with issues when protests have been raised. Yes. So someone says you are not a citizen. Yes. Or you are underage. Yes. Okay.
Or your name is not there.
Or you are dead. Good. Okay. So those issues come up. But somebody has sat in a quiet corner and moved you, maybe, from where you are.
No, but when you go to a police station, your name isn't there. That means you've been transferred.
No. You see, no, it is more complex than that. When we talk about untraced transfer path, what it means is that you will not even see it in the absent list that the person has been moved to another polling station, which is the principle of transfer. If you move onto special voters list, or you've been transferred out of a polling station, you should still be traced that you were in polling station B, Kocha Primary. Now you've been transferred to this polling station. So in the original polling station that you were, your name should now appear on the absent list.
Okay, Doc, please land for me. No, if not, the back and forth, we take over the program. Let Doc
on polling day, you have how many hours to do your business?
About 12 hours.
So I go to Adenta, what is it? Something school, Kobe, polling station A. I go, I don't find my name. I go to B, I don't find my name. I think there are 3. C, I don't find my name. It turns out that my name has been moved to Kukrantumi. To where I don't know. I'm lost. Period. That is the beauty of this criminal enterprise.
You like the word criminal?
Because it's a criminal enterprise. That is precisely what we have on hand. And I think that the NDC should be grateful to the advice being offered by Dr. Admas. They must start with names and faces behind the figures. And they are wasting time. Because they are dealing with the MPP. I don't believe that Dr. Aduma is privy to what is going on. Because only a few people know or are supposed to know. But basically, it has become the life work of the gentleman who brought up the quote-unquote stupid idea of a biometric register. And they must now go back and engineer loopholes and opacity. And I think the name of the game has been disenfranchisement. So from one stupid tactic to the next. It started with the Supreme Court saying that your birth certificate does not make you a Ghanaian. Remember? Yes. That's where it started from. Then the next station was, Ghana card. When not everybody had Ghana card.
Okay.
They believe they held a Trump card.
Doc, please, we have to move on to the next discussion. Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, I still have in the studio with me Professor Titus Bayo, Dr. Adumako Kisi, Honorable Member of Parliament. Professor Titus Bayo is a parliamentary candidate for Lambusie. Dr. Adumako Kisi is the Member of Parliament for Anyanso Utum. And then Dr. David Percy. Now, let me do a few comments. This is from Snet, who says, Senna, thank God your voice is back. Senna, I think the EC should come clear for disqualifying the PNC. Out of CBP came PNC. So irrespective of internal issues, which is common to all the political parties, an unfair treatment on the PNC is the direct treatment to an Nkrumah is and inversely proportional to other political parties. The EC must be examined. The posture of the EC is too doubtful. That's coming from Snet. Thank you very much for sending that message. And there are many comments that have come through our WhatsApp platform. Saba James, who just sent this, says, no one is told to see tomorrow, and no one is rich enough but to buy yesterday. It is only God's grace to be alive today. So Akufo-Addo and MPP government should consider all this before acting this way. You by all means account for your actions and inactions one day. James, thank you very much for sending us. Son and Asasewa says, good morning. I want to thank you all for the education we are receiving from you, especially on the history of our first president. I hear more about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in other parts of the world than I hear our own people talk about him. We need to celebrate this man more than we are doing. We are celebrated outside our country simply because of this great man and what he stood for. I pray Dr. Percy lives long to continue to speak the truth about this icon of a person. Indeed, Nkrumah never dies. He says, we have grown up past the days we accepted information anyhow from politicians. So be careful what you say because of your personal interests and not that of Ghanaians. Indeed, there is several ways of killing a cat, as said by the Soweto MP. If that is so, why are you running away from the demand for the forensic audit? This is Jones Daze, who says, forensic audit will be in the interest of both parties and Ghanaians in general. Let's not rule out the audit in the interest of peace. Ghana can move away from an era of post-election litigation so that time is not wasted in fixing the economy, which is tearing people apart. Let's be proactive. Jones, thank you. Some more from this platform, of course, the WhatsApp platform that you're sending in. This one, let other political parties petition Parliament for allowing them to bring their IT person to join the NDC to audit the EC system and the register. Tom Inaplau says, in many cultures and contexts, the number 8 is considered a symbolic number that carries various meanings, including the number 8 meaning. This is then he goes to numerological significance. In numerology, the number 8 is considered a powerful and ambitious number associated with authority, leadership, and material success. Tom Inaplau gives us an education this morning. Good morning to you, Tom. There's Mr. Jamefi in Kumasi Abrepo, who says the EC, MPP, and some small parties sponsored by the MPP conspired to swap the number 1 slot to the MPP. They should have shown the number they picked in front of the whole party representative, but they all kept their numbers until they were asked to show them to the public, and swapping happened before they were asked to show them to the public. They intentionally qualify some smaller parties affiliated with the MPP just to help them achieve their evil plot to rig the elections. Then this should open their eyes, especially the smaller parties that are in support of the MPP but not their party. Thank you, Mr. Jenfi, for sending that message. Then this one says, please, with all humility, yesterday's first presidential balloting was obviously biased and unprofessional because of the following. The MPP rep picked 2 balls in his 2 hands. This action was openly seen by all seated there, including the commissioner and staff. It was after an aspirant lamented that the MPP rep dropped the ball in his right hand down. Also, since one of the balls was different from the others, it causes the exercise to be biased. Conclusively, the exercise must be nullified by all logical people. A lot of you did watch the balloting. This one says, good morning, host. NDC must recall Parliament under a state of emergency to probe Jean Mensah, the voters register, and the staff of EC to weed out the rogue elements in that office. It's risky to populate the EC with party full soldiers who are players and referees at the same time. A staff audit of EC and its ICT devices is necessary to ensure sanity and quality assurance because MPP bias EC is not fit for purpose, but a recipe for chaos. NDC must be proactive to avoid another stolen verdict similar to the civilian coup d'etat in 2020. Willie sent that he's a concerned citizen. So those are some of the comments we're getting on the very first discussion we had. A few from Facebook. Shemen D says, I really appreciate and honestly admire Dr. Percy in the manner in which he goes about with his submission. Like always, laying bare the historical antecedents and setting the right tone for a better appreciation of current affairs. I love my heart off for him for his statesmanship, more grace and longevity of life unto you, sir. Ghana will be forever grateful and proud having you. This is Musa Batu Asesena. The disqualification of some candidates by the EC without a thorough examination of their papers raises concerns about sincerity and fairness. Coupled with a recent report by TV3 has clearly exposed them for their attempt to manipulate the ballot by swapping positions from 5 to 1. This underhand collusion between the EC and NPP is yet another desperate move to hold on to power. But I shall allow no level of ballot manipulation will change the outcome. No matter how you decorate a monkey, it still remains a monkey. A word to the wise is enough. Good morning to Elulu Mensa. One says, Doctor, Elulu is out of this country. Okay, he's talking about civil war. Good morning to you. There's Mohammed Miss Bahudin says, and the MPP will lose this election. John Mahama all the way. A great submission by Professor Bayo. We in the Upper West region are proud of you. Mohammed sent that from Techiman. There's Kukubo Stephen, who says a good morning. Senator, the Electoral Commission should do the right thing and stop the thing they are not doing well. Change is here. Movement for change all the way. There's Edward Dubazan, who says Ghana is now being run. Elections these days don't mean anything. If the government can manipulate every process, are you surprised? Napo said the government has performed better than your Nkrumah. George Mensan says Dr. Kesi should give us a break. The MPP knows what the EC has made on the register. There must be a forensic audit of the register. Douglas J, if a teacher gives an assignment of 10 questions to a student and he or she has 7 out of 10, when correction is done, who will authenticate the work, teacher or the student? Well, so those are some of the comments you're sending to us. Keep them coming. We have to move on to a discussion on the state of our power sector. This is a story published on Electricity Hub, and this is what they say. The Ghana Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has raised concerns about the Electricity Company of Ghana's impending insolvency. According to the PURC, the electricity distribution company's ongoing financial problems must be addressed. Quote, the Commission has noted the persistent financial challenges facing the Electricity Company of Ghana. Is a matter of grave concern not only for ECG but for the entire energy sector. These challenges are contained in the letter submitted by ECG highlighting the imminent risk of bankruptcy. End quote. Then it continues. The PURC said, quote, given the ECG's strategic role in power distribution, its financial instability poses a significant threat to the sector's sustainability and the security of electricity supply, which could lead to a national security threat. The Commission acknowledges that the ECG has initiated and started implementing digital and metering programs to improve its cash collection. However, despite these efforts and Commission's decision to increase tariffs by more than 75% since September 2022, ECG's financial difficulties persist. Indeed, for June and July 2024, ECG declared so this is 824,200,000 cedis and 857 million respectively. So those are the losses the ECG declared for June and July 2024. So they are within the over 800 million bandwidth. So these amounts were insufficient to pay the tier A plus WAPCO's bill of $47 million per month. The letter signed by the executive director of the PURC, Dr. Ismail Aka, noted, unfortunately, in August 2024, ECG declared less than 800 million cedis. This represents about 42% of the revenue by the Commission to be collected and paid to the sector players. So, this is so the ECG is collecting less revenue than it has to pay for the power it is collecting. So the ECG takes the power, but the money that comes to the ECG is not enough to pay for the power it has taken. So you can go from Ghana Gas, VRA, Gridco, all of them are suffering because the ECG is unable to pay for the power it is getting. So I'll start from you, Prof, again, on this one.
Yeah, it's a disturbing story to hear, but I would say some think there's an adage in most Ghanaian languages that if your mother is dead and you tell people your mother is asleep, when it is time for supper and people are going to their mothers for food, you would know where you will go and get supper to eat. And I think that has been the story of this government. ECG has its administrative lack of efficiency issues, but the power sector itself has been in danger. And rather than fixing it, government is happy to engage in, again, sloganeering. We will keep the lights on. We will make sure that the lights are on. And when you bring out anything, they use communication tactics through the media, through all their channels, to paint what is obviously black, white, and deny any claims of struggles that these entities are suffering. But I think it is almost time for supper. And for the NPP government that has claimed that the mother is alive, when indeed it is dead, they are beginning to get to a point where it's biting. So now I can cite a few examples before I come to the power sector, where this principle or phenomenon I'm talking about has come into being. You talk about the financial sector, and when we were having challenges, we talked about debt exchange. Everybody was pointing to, all the figures were pointing to the direction that we're not doing well. Okay. They will still communicate confidence based on nothing. All is well. We will never go to IMF. We will never do this. And then we are there at IMF when we are moribund. We didn't even go at a point where resuscitation was easy. We are a proud nation. We are that. Yet we get there in a very bad state. We call for homegrown solution. Let's sit down and see how we can fix the issue. No, we have all the ideas. This is one example in the financial sector. When we are downgraded to junk status, instead of seeing what really are the matters, you have government, the president himself goes to say that the international rating agencies are not doing any good to us because of how they are rating us. But that is the reality of what you are. You can go to other sectors. Now, the issue of ECG, when we started having DUMSO, and we said, look, DUMSO is back, let's fix it. Government communicators took a swipe. There's no DUMSO, to the extent that the energy minister said we should go and draw our own schedule. And when we said there was a generational problem, not because we do not have the generational capacity, but because of mainly financial issues, government communicators will have none of that. And you see, that is where I plead with Ghanaians to see the difference between leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the leadership of Nana Addo Bawumia administration. When His Excellency was faced with DUMSO, he took it in his stride and said, we will fix this. He did an analysis of the situation and realized that we had a generational issue. He increased our generational capacity, brought in the likes of car power and other generational systems that the NPP then vilified. They were shrouded in corruption. They were not well negotiated. We will come and renegotiate all of them. And what happened? In the renegotiation process, some of them, we ended up even paying more than we had negotiated. They bastardized our government that we have negotiated take-or-pay agreement. Go and find out how many take-or-pay agreement they have negotiated. This is the country that we find ourselves in. So if you look at the issue of ECG, it has been an issue of finance. And I can remember when we're having this instability in power and our energy sector expert was saying it's finance, it's finance, it's finance. No, that wasn't an issue. We are solving it. We have renegotiated debt exchange with the independent power producers. We have paid them. Then the people say, you've not paid us. We've paid part, we've not paid us. This is where we are. Now, ECG is in this crisis. And rather than sitting down to fix the crisis, you know what you are trying to do? You have nuts, 5 nuts in your hands. One is sports. And instead of taking it out, you want to merge all and chew. VRA has been demonstrating, workers have been demonstrating, BUI has been demonstrating, because you have an entity that is not doing well. Isolate it and let's fix it. You rather want to merge it with all the others. What is the rationale in such? Is that the most prudent way of managing crisis? There's a need for a national discussion on this ECG. And anytime you have a problem, and this particular government, NPP government, Nana Addo Bawumia government, attempts to solve it, you realize that they use every problem to see how they can swindle the Ghanaian. And it's unfortunate. And you can cite plenty examples. So you have COVID, which is a national crisis. We all go out as medical persons, braving it, risking our lives to fight it, and in the process, money is looted and being shared, and party communicators are coming out to say how much they have received. And then you feel very, 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 excuse my language, stupid as a doctor, as a healthcare worker, facing this with your risk, with your life. When this ECG problem came, they came, oh, there's a problem, so let's sell it off. Let's bring in PDS. And it was scandalous. I am sad hearing this, but I'm sure if we give NPP another opportunity, they will use this apparent national problem where the ECG is struggling to find a way to swindle the Ghanaian again. Either quickly find a way of packaging it and selling it to their cronies, as they are even trying to merge it with other well-doing businesses. We experience what's supposed to be some drought or famine, and it's interesting. The government goes into, they are asking for permission to go into our, I've forgotten the name of the fund. Contingency fund. Perhaps that's the only fund left standing. They want to dip their hands in it. And believe you me, in the constituencies, their PCs and MPs are already campaigning with that money. That has not been granted yet. I don't know if it has been granted now. I can cite an example in my constituency where the MP is going around telling farmers that we are coming to give 10,000 cedis per acre, but the discussion has been per hectare. I don't know whether a hectare becomes an acre, but this is the discussion ongoing. So when we are faced with problems like this, we need calm heads to sit and think of a solution that is in the interest of Ghanaian. After solving Dumso, increasing our generational capacity, His Excellency brought energy sector levy to create a fund that can help us fix future problems. My concern is that of all the problems that this government has created, the mess they have created, all they have done in any of the situation has been two things: to communicate, to cover issues, and then create the impression that all is well. That's number one. The second one they always do is to postpone the burden to the next government. Never an attempt to try to solve the situation. Never an attempt to solve the situation. So we are owing, then you say that don't worry, we'll postpone it, we'll pay in 20 years time or 5 years time or 10 years time when we don't know who will be in charge. My concern on this ECG problem is government has not made any provision. All monies available in the sector has been squandered. There is no money accruing to even pay for future debts that are being created. There is nothing like a fund, that sinking fund that was created, ESLA that was created, this contingency fund. The final one standing, I think, but the finance will correct me, is this contingency fund that they want to dip their hands in and plunder everything before they leave. It's sad. But this is a vindication of what we have said all this while. I remember Jinapo every time stating that, look, this is financial, not all that the MPP communicators are making us believe. Now the PURC is saying that the ECG is going bankrupt. And in the midst of this bankruptcy, you want to merge it with our institutions. What is the wisdom in it? I think I'll rest my case here.
Thank you. Let me read some earlier comments that was a message that was sent. This is Papa Bisu says, hi. So I'm now concerned about the printing of ballot papers. On that note, due to alleged rigging in the air, is the Visa Santin now vying as a candidate for MPP at Nkoko constituency on the ticket of MPP, still at post as CEO of Ghana Publishing Corporation? If yes, he has to be kicked out immediately due to conflict of interest. That said, yesterday balloting and EC shows this EC can't be trusted. Crime scene, he says. That's Papa Bisio who sent that. There's Musa Abatua who is also joining us. Musa Abatua says, Sana, the disqualification of some candidates by the EC without a thorough examination of their papers raises concerns about sincerity and fairness, coupled with recent report by TV3 has clearly exposed them for the attempt to manipulate the ballot by swapping positions from 5 to 1. This underhand collusion between the EC and MPP is yet another desperate move to hold on to power. But inshallah, no level of ballot manipulation will change the outcome. No matter how you decorate a monkey, he still remain a monkey. A word to the wise is enough. Thank you very much, Musa Abatua, for sending that message. There's Abbas Amogobo in Ofinso who says, the MPP supporters will vote 8 thinking they are breaking the 8. NDC will not struggle to market the 8 because it has already been done by MPP. See how God can use your enemy to promote you. Mama is a winner. That's Abbas Amogobo in Ofinso. There's Masola Kabli in Ayewaso constituency who says, I got to a taxi rank at La Paz going home this morning, and I can say that I'm very confident looking at what the drivers are saying. They said the MPP they said that the MPP claimed they will break the 8, but now their close contender is at number 8, so they will see how they will break the so-called 8. One driver was saying that they will break 9 and not 8. MPP is a gunner, no matter what they will do. Masola probably sent that from Ayawaso constituency. Okay. Effort Diwano says, why haven't the MPP been able to detect anything wrong with the register? That's Effort Ben Diwano who sent that. First of all, let me welcome Ambassador. Ambassador, good morning. Yeah, nice to see you this morning. Yeah. Then let me listen to Dr. Admako Kisi before I come to you.
Well, let me say that power generation in this country and power supply to the various homes in this country has no party colors. And what I mean by that is that Doomsaw, when we experienced it, for however painful it was, and the many lives that were lost to, Doomsaw, affected all homes in this country. Healthcare was impacted, Tailors Association impacted, Hairdressers Association. In fact, it was so scary to go get a haircut because in the middle of your haircut, the power supply goes off. Cold store operators were struggling in this country. You couldn't put fish in your fridge or freezer for a while because, hey, within the shortest time you lose business. It was one of the devastating things that affected small enterprises in this country, and in fact, one of the low points was watching surgery being done with cell phone lights, and I think Professor Abeyo would attest to the fact that those were some dark days in Ghana's history that we should not, ever revisit. With that said, I think one of the key things is that we don't intend to go back to that era, that period where it was so bad for the ordinary Ghanaian. moving forward, we're here in a situation where lawyer Dubik, very fantastic guy by way. Anytime I hear of ECG, I attest to the fact that they have a very powerful CEO, and I think, with the greatest of respect, this young man has moved and even put out the likes of Parliament when we hadn't paid our indebtedness to the ECG. So what is very clear to me that this guy is very progressive. He has the country at heart, and he, without a doubt, has done things that ordinarily some would not have had the guts to do, in the sense that he's pushed governmental agencies to pay their fair share of their bills that are due them. Now, I think the MPP administration made some changes to government business, and this needs to be put on record, in the sense that government was paying for light bills of many institutions with no recourse to how the usages were going. And government has thought it wise and prudent, and let me use the word prudent, to put the responsibility of making sure that you are using electricity efficiently on the various institutions, so that now Kolebu, which gave birth to the two of us, will be fully and seriously responsible for catering to its light usage, so that wastage will be also reduced. And then individual CEOs will be very energy conscious, energy efficiency driven, so that, one, those who would adapt to solar energy, which is one of the key things that Baumia is proffering, that they would be as efficient as possible. So this, for me, is one of the policy changes that was long overdue. And I know that Ambassador would agree to the fact that making all institutions responsible for their energy usage is an efficient way to go, and will put the onus on the various institutions to ensure that their usage is apt and that they can cater for their usage. I know that between now and when this entire change will be very firm, there will be challenges, because I know KUST had light issue because of their indebtedness, and we shouldn't use the word legacy debt, but it used to be that the debt was so compounding, and when this policy was changed, it didn't change based on just a year or two's bill, but bills that have been outstanding for decades in various institutions. And I think that what we need to admit as a panel or as a country is the fact that over time we failed to ensure that institutions were bearing their fair share of electricity bill. And I say that from the secondary schools, I say that from the tertiary institutions, I say that from all the health institutions. And I think that, when you do not cost well your energy consumption, then your accountants are off. And I think that we should all be on the wagon in pushing that every governmental institution in this country uses their electricity appropriately, uses it without wastage, and people should pay for what they are using. It can't be that, and I speak for even my own medical fraternity, it can't be that we live in government house and we may have 10 equipments, another person may have 2 equipments, and we are not paying. I believe in one thing: pay me well enough and let me handle my bills. And this is what I think the British left us that did not help us. That culture has to change. In my small American training, it's unacceptable that everything should be handled by government. Pay me well enough, let me buy my car. Pay me well enough, let me pay for my electricity bill, my water bill, and all of these things. So fast forward, I think that the idea that ECG has not had debt cannot be new to the youngest person in this country. The idea that ECG has not been bogged down by bills of so many years and generations. Nobody dare tell me that this is not news. This is not new. Now, the key thing is that how do we solve this problem? And I think that we should commend the current CEO. And this one is not me talking necessarily for, the CEO, but I think that he's a fantastic guy, and we all can admit that he's done things that, some of us were jittery, because I was like, hey, this guy, to cut Jubilee House's light or Parliament's light, this guy is out of the door the next day. But he's managed to do these bold things whilst Parliament is in session, off our light, and he's still at post. And I think that Dubig certainly should be rather encouraged. And if we had CEOs of his type in many governmental institutions, maybe today Ghana would have been a better place and would have maybe stopped necessarily only thinking about the president per se, but the institutional heads who have taken upon themselves to do the crusade for Ghana and not necessarily for any particular party. So I think that when it comes to ECG, we have to call a spade a spade. And the indebtedness with ECG is not an MPP indebtedness. It's both, governments that have occupied a seat after Nkrumah provided us with VRA, several decades ago. And I really think that part of the solution is knowing your problem, or as it says, if you don't diagnose it, you cannot then treat it. So PURC, should be a bit more, clear in their narrative and not appear to have to make a statement as if they are now discovering that 20 plus years ago debts are still belaboring institutions in this country. They shouldn't. I think with the greatest of respect to them, rather they should tell us in plain sight to Ghanaians that listen, these are the realities facing Dubig as a CEO, and it's not Dubig's fault. These are generational indebtedness. Okay. Our great grandfather's indebtedness, and we now have to change our culture where we enter our school, we turn on the light, and we expect heaven to pay for it. These are monumental changes to our own culture, and I think that the one of the distinctions between us and the Oyibos, forgive me, is that at the tender age of almost 5 years, they tell you that you ought to pay for what you're getting, and when you sit at the table, it is in the house, you do some chores and then you get some reward, and as African as we are, unfortunately, there's a concept of thinking that we are entitled to everything because we are NDC, or we're entitled to everything because we're MPP. That should stop. Some of us have to be very, truthful to our people and say that, listen, even if you sit in a Bedford, which is bought by the government, you have to do something small. The very least, don't litter the Bedford bus. And I say Bedford because these are some of the unique things that was around, when Kwame Nkrumah was president, and we've all come to enjoy a little bit of that. So the ECG issue is not an MPP issue. It is a Ghana issue, and it is not the CEO's issue. It is all of us our issue. We've used lights in many jurisdictions are not paid for it. And now that we are supposed to face the reality and pay for it, it cannot also then become something to hold any presidency for an election. I mean, no amount of trying to pin this to election should wash. Okay. So these are my humble submission about this, and I think that we need to be, I know we should do politics, but some matters are of national developmental importance, okay, that we need not color it as green, black, and what's the other color of your party? Red. But we need to just do it Ghana, which is gold, red, and black star, and green. So that is my take on the ECG.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Just 2 comments. I'll need to take just a quick break to just get something sorted. There's Martin Kwame said in Sovia, who says he's listening to the comment by the national organizer of the MPP, Nanabi. It's obviously clear that the EC is under the instructions of the MPP government to do what they're doing. Nanabi is only engaged in what I term cowardice bravado. There's Snet who says, Senna, before today's current meter came on board, have you been to any of the ECG offices? Have you witnessed the collection of monies for prepaid and postpaid? The new meter and its system is the best, and I know it will get better. But my surprise is how come with all the money collection system put in place now, they're still running at a loss? Does it mean all the publications that they have made gains through the current meter is a lie? Which region or district is the loss coming from? Mostly, a lot of people would disagree with you on the new meter matter. There's this one coming from Tafaina, and I'm listening to what President Mahama said about how the MP has destroyed all sectors of our economy. I feel bad and scared because these distractions will take a long time to fix. That means the next President Mahama's administration needs to work hard in order to solve some of the problems within the 4 years. Other problems may take more than 4 years to solve. So Tafa, good morning to you. You indicated to me earlier on that when I read your message initially, my mic was off, so you didn't hear. I guess you've heard it now. We'll take a quick break, sort out something. We'll be right back.
He has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land.
Thank you very much for staying tuned to the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live from the studios of Pan-African Television. We're still discussing the issue of the concerns being raised by the PRC, the regulator of the utility sector, about the possible bankruptcy of the electricity company of Ghana. Ambassador, let's listen to you.
Well, Salah, good morning. Wonderful panelists. Today is Nkrumah's birthday. And need I remind you that you are enjoying this light because of Nkrumah.
They'll post our Nkrumah.
Look at my back. We love our Nkrumah.
Thank you, Ambassador. They'll post it.
See, Doctor, yeah, you are from Kolebu.
Yes.
In which hospitals did people die because of Tumso? Do you have any record?
Not that I know.
Because you were the Secretary General of the Medical Association.
Not that I know.
This continuous recitation that because of Tumso, children died on hospital beds. Do you have any record of that? Do you also have a record of doctors operating in the surgical wards when torchlight. Do you have that?
That picture evidence.
So I have had personally had to do that.
Do that. Okay.
But that's even more recent, not even that Dumso.
That's right.
Just more recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did any doctor die in Dumso, during Dumso?
No, that I know of.
Did any doctor die during COVID?
Yes.
Okay.
I wrote a paper on the number of Ghanaian doctors that died during COVID.
You see, anytime we are discussing national issues, the NPP, in their bankruptness, in their incompetence, want to globalize what they should be facing. Do you understand? The records are very clear that ECG, VRA, and all other actors in the value chain were making profit until 2017.
Yeah.
True or false?
True. That's true.
They were making profit until 2017. Sandra, do you know why we are facing this problem with ECG? Do you know? Let me ask a further question to settle the matters once and for all. Sandra, do you know of any ECG room with a switch, master switch, which Mahama switched off latest in Ghana? Is there any switch like that? Is there any switch like that Mahama switched and there was Dumso in Ghana?
Certainly not.
Yet you made songs, you wasted our years, you made noise. Dumso. This morning you are sitting here at Marco talking about Dumso and what barbers faced, what hairdressers faced. And that's why I'm saying that you have become a non-Ghanaian, you have become an MPP man. Sana, when Mahama was faced with your Dumso mantra, you remember that in one of the State of the Nation's address, he said, this one we are facing is not a spiritual problem, because the NPP and Akufo had sent pastors to Akosombo to go and pray. He got the experts to sit down and say, sir, we're having problems with generation because the Akosombo cannot cope with our demands. Today, he is the MP for Sotium. When I came to Accra, Sotium was not part of Accra. It was not even there. Sotium, this large thing, it was not there. Abeka was out of La Paz. The person who came to open back was Amin. You know, there's a church called Amin. He came and opened the Abeka back. But to look at the settlement there, it means that our energy demand had increased. So, for example, Mahama says that we are a country of about 30-something million people, but our mobile phones are so many. And therefore, if any government wants to plan for our future energy, you have to take account of SS. No, so. No, then NPP pick it. Mahama says we are in Dumso because of charging mobile phones. And they use it to win election. We entered into a compact with the Americans. And one of the achievements of President Kufuor was the N1, which was completed by President Mills. So the Americans agreed to enter into a compact too with Ghana, also. And in that, we were to look at the downstream of energy production, which is distribution. So they were going to give us money to make sure that they have improved the operational capacity and efficiency of the ECG. Dr. Muhammadu Mawumia, the presidential candidate who moved from a Muslim to in the morning, in the afternoon a Christian, in the evening he goes to the shrine. A fetish. The all Ghanaians I know, but faith is faith. Sana, faith is faith.
Buddhist faith is also.
It's a faith, yeah, but you as a Christian, I know, if on Friday I see you at the shrine, I'll say there's something wrong with you. Certainly, I'll say you need some extra help.
For politics, he has to appeal to all the constituents.
So he goes there, remove his shoes, and they pour the drinks like this, and he's standing there with his hands at the back.
I'll let you.
Sana, this Bawumia converted what should have been the requirement of conditions you have to satisfy before you enter into UCG's operations. You change that to say that, oh, no, because you cannot make it, because he knew the people that were coming into the fray didn't have $1. And also didn't have any technical competencies. So, to cut a long story short, because all of us are aware of that, the Americans said, no, you can't do that, please, buddy. We are withdrawing our money. And Akufo-Addo and Dr. Adumako, that time he wasn't part of that. That time he was a Ghanaian. Oh, we are a sovereign country. American can go to hell. We will take our money. Do you remember that? Do you remember those situations? So we lost that money, almost $500 million. So it's today, ECG is being bankrupt. It's because of Bawumia and what he did with the PDS. If Ghana is facing doomsday crisis or imminent collapse of the ECG, it's because of Bawumia. Because if he had allowed the Americans and the interactions with us, they would have rectified all the operational challenges of the ECG. After operation, they said that, oh, they have some $1 million, they have collected some monies. So now, as at the time I'm sitting in Pan-African television, the PDS people have not paid back those monies. So we've lost the money that should have come to us to make ECG efficient, and we have also been robbed of our money. That is Dr. Bawumia I'm talking about. This is the first time in the life of the energy sector that PURC and ECG have been in a banter. The first time. And I'm wondering the energy with which ECG stand up to the PURC. Because the PURC, you bring your data and they look at it. The debate you are praising, he is the danger to our ECG, our energy sector. He's the danger. Because he sees a thing which is blue and he says it's black. That bravado of shutting parliament and doesn't make ECG competent. It doesn't. Okay, in any case, how long did he do that? Is parliament still not owing?
But appreciably
lower. What about other government institutions? This ad hoc approach to situations are what has brought us today to this place. I agree with you that state institutions and their actors should pay for electricity, isn't it? That they use. Dr. Adumago, one of your key major prime policies is free SHS, right? Who is going to pay for the electricity of the schools? Government. Comedy of errors. Sana, when I was coming, I think it was Dr. Bayo who was giving a Dagomba proverb that if your mother is dead and you say he's sleeping, wait until some dinner time is there. The problem we are facing is not for today, because the MPP government had put all its debt ahead for future governments. For future governments. Look at the debt exchange. What have they done? 2025 going. Look at the negotiations they did with our bondholders ahead. What kind of government is so destructive? So destructive that you chop our money and make sure that the next government coming will be so impotent. What kind of human beings are you? NPP, what kind of human beings are you? You go to take money on behalf of Ghana, and you take the money from your own partners, templating. From your own partners. Just to run this country bankrupt. And they have the audacity, breaking the eight. Breaking the eight. When you know that you have nothing to show to Ghanaians, that you are breaking the eight. Sana, one of the most dangerous legacy Akufo-Addo is living in this country is the fact that he was the president in whose time our water bodies were poisoned. And you are doctors. You know what it means to poison our water bodies. In due course, Akufo-Addo will face the international court because that's the law of water. That even in war, you cannot pollute water bodies. How have you sat down as a president to get our water bodies to that state? I'm a small chief. I don't swear with my stool. But for the president to swear with the spiritual togetherness of Ghana, to swear that I'll protect everything Ghana, and even put his presidency on the line for Galamsey. And now we see this Galamsey. He has to face the international court for the water bodies he and his cronies have destroyed. Akufo-Addo, your president, is going to be on record as the president who collapsed our banking system. Our indigenous banking system. And today, he says what? I will hand over to my successor, that is Bawumia. And I say you have become an MPP, not a Ghanaian anymore. What is about Bawumia and solar?
Oh, it's in our manifesto.
Wait a minute. Tadabeyo, yeah. You are from the north. Do you see the northern irrigation project? No, the solar project.
The Pualugu one.
I'm from Pualugu. I'm coming there.
It's in our manifesto.
And
that will supplement the energy needs of this country by using.
But is it? I was asking to the mayor. You are not from the north. You are from Kou. No. You are from Kou. I'm asking to the mayor. But I'm asking to the mayor whether you have not seen solar in the north.
You are talking about Professor Mayor.
Professor Mayor. Sorry.
No
problem. Sorry, Prof.
It's okay.
You see, I am in government. You have a problem. I'm a patient. I go to Dr. Adamaku Kisi, and I'm on the hospital bed, sick.
Yeah.
Dr. Adamaku Kisi tell me, let me go to Kou and have my Easter. One after the Easter, I come and take care of you.
Oh, I'll take care of you next year.
Next year. Hey,
Ambassador, you have to wrap up for me.
this is Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana.
Now it's another's come.
No, why do Ghana? Doesn't have a Ghana.
Uncle, don't be surprised. The man was able to deceive God. I attempted to deceive God.
They are giving us a swimming pool.
Yes. So what can't you do to Ghana?
They are giving us a swimming pool. May God forgive you people that you want to break the eight. Now we have the eight. Is it government? God does his things. We will break it the eight. Now we have the eight. Come and break it.
Ambassador, thank you.
Come and break
Thank
it.
you. Let me just
Let me know when I can
let me do a few comments.
Come and break the eight. Now we have it.
That's an interesting note that we to conclude. Numese Nenena says, in that sensible regard, a sharp brain, John Dramani Mahama brought in energy sector levy to defray the debts acquired by our grandparents. There's also Benedict Fianco Boateng says, I just have to say some people, despite their education, do not understand how government works. Because if you do, you will not sit down to say ECG. If ECG is not working, the ruling government should not be held responsible. If you submit that, then I am sorry to say you do not understand what governance is about. Because it's the president that appoints the Minister of Energy, the board of the ECG, and the CEO. So if ECG is not being run as it should be, whose job is it to make sure that the institution is run well? Anyone saying government should not be held responsible is himself or herself ignorant about how governance is run. Watching you live from the UK. Thank you very much, Benedict, for that comment. There's Fifi Knox is claiming that he sees 8 on our logo. There's no 8 on Alhaji and Alhaji logo. There's the end sign. There's also Nasir Mohammed, who is joining us.
So now they'll see 8 everywhere. My goodness.
I agree with the first panelist's apology analogy of a mother being dead. How come every institution under them is bankrupt? The Bank of Ghana, ECG, Cocoa Board, that were making money are all now broke. If you have a new CEO and the company is making losses, how can you